Dark screen. The noise of metal locks snapping. A slight breath of air sighs into the interior. For years, it remained quiet. A Boeing 727 that once transported one of the most recognizable people on the planet. No logos, no hype. No hint that, at one period, it had been the pulsing core of a global tour so vast it spanned across continents. Then one afternoon, the entries were unlocked. A tiny group of historians walked inside. They didn't uncover a chest of riches. They didn't locate hidden tapes. What they discovered was something far more personal. This is the unheard story of Michael Jackson's private aircraft during the Dangerous World Tour and how it exposes a side of him the public seldom witnessed. The Dangerous World Tour wasn't merely a concert run. It was a worldwide takeover of arenas, illumination, and pure organization. From 1992 to 1993, Michael Jackson played for millions across Europe, Asia, South America, and further. But amidst the screams of the audience was stillness. And that stillness resided inside a Boeing 727. Michael didn't own the aircraft. He leased it, a narrow-bodied trijet built for short to medium-range trips. It could fly at 570 miles per hour, had a reach of roughly 2,500 miles, and stretched 150 feet nose to tail. For traveling performers, the 727 was ideal. Small enough to touch down at airfields giant jets couldn't, but big enough to haul a squad, protection, and necessities. For Michael, it wasn't regarding prestige, it was regarding command. The exterior was blank, an empty slate that attracted no notice. When it arrived, it did so silently, usually at night. Airport workers hardly knew who was aboard until the steps were lowered. Inside, it wasn't a flying mansion. There were lounge chairs, a small sitting area, perhaps a sleeping section, but no gold fittings, no stone surfaces. The man who packed stadiums with fireworks kept his airplane modest. While Michael and his inner circle traveled silently over the clouds, a whole mobile town trailed him. Over 100 tour staff, more than 100 tons of stage equipment, cargo jets, lorries, support flights. Boeing 747 freighters transported light trusses, platforms, mixing desks, and wardrobe trunks. Stage designs spanned over 20,000 square feet and required heavy cranes to build. Fleets of 18-wheelers drove between towns where flying wasn't feasible. Some trucks hauled nothing but outfits, several identical costumes for every dancer with spares for every performance. Electric grids in some nations couldn't support the tour's demands, so diesel engines were flown in. They could energize a small district, and occasionally, that's precisely what they did. Protection was military-grade. Arena layouts were analyzed weeks prior. Escape paths were charted. Even the movement of crowds entering and exiting was designed beforehand. And all of it, every lorry, every trip, every dish for the team, was synchronized to the second around the man in the 727.
Few individuals ever witnessed the interior of Michael's dangerous tour plane. It wasn't reconstructed from zero, the way tycoons personalize theirs. It was an adjusted commercial airliner for VIP purposes. Up front, the flight deck and pilots. Midsection, swivel chairs, a desk, a storage locker. One section had dark drapes and a single cot surrounded by black walls for solitude. The kitchen was humble, a microwave, a small cooler, a hot water system. Food was plain, roasted chicken, greens, herbal tea. Michael skipped processed sweets and red meat. No in-flight studio, no party lights. Simply a tiny TV, a mobile music player, and his demo reels. Sometimes he reviewed scripts or tour outlines. Sometimes he rested. Sometimes he merely gazed out the pane at the sky. The most vital element wasn't the furniture, it was the mood. The staff kept the cabin hushed. No needless talk, no unasked visitors. Guards sat within a few rows of him constantly. No weapons, just alertness. To Michael, this craft wasn't opulence. It was a sanctuary in the center of a sea of sound. After the dangerous tour concluded, the 727 returned to normal commercial duty. Over time, its link to Michael vanished into service logs and old flight documents. Then, Ages later, aviation historians acquired it. They wished to see what, if anything, survived. The entry opened, the interior smelled slightly of old fabric. Some VIP traits had been removed, swapped with standard parts, but hidden away in nooks were traces of a different era. In a storage bin, a plastic-coated flight plan from 1993, Tokyo to Seoul, Seoul to Taipei. The days aligned with Michael's tour perfectly. In a closed overhead locker, a travel bag. Within, a pair of shades, a scribbled list of towns, and a battered set of noise-reducing headphones. The writing looked strangely like Michael's block print. In the rear kitchen, stuck behind a plate, a curled folder with duplicate weather updates and food sheets. One had Jackson penned at the peak. And concealed in a service hatch, a packet of 35mm pictures, the flight team grinning, a fuzzy image of Michael, face down, moving toward the steps at night. No controversy, no coded notes, just pieces of a life experienced in transit. Admirers had pictured crystal lights and sparkling wine. The reality, tan walls, functional chairs, a solitary bed. The plane wasn't designed to dazzle. It was designed to guard. Michael's existence at this stage was under attack, legally, medically, and mentally. Mobs trailed him everywhere. Reporters hunted his steps. A plane jet could arrive in minor airfields, shift paths at the last second and disappear. It was security in plain view. Inside, it was a cocoon. No yelling fans, no snapping bulbs. Just room to ease his back, drink tea, and exhale. Health teams sometimes flew with him. Treatments occurred mid-air. Lights remained low. Heat remained constant. Everything was managed. For those brief hours in the sky, Michael wasn't the king of pop. He was simply Michael.
When word of the found plane emerged, fans' sights buzzed. Instead of feeling let down, most felt eased. The simple interior matched the Michael they understood, a man who prized solitude over luxury. News channels noted the difference between his explosive stage energy and his quiet, almost bare life in travel. To researchers, the jet provided a view into the framework of fame. The Dangerous Tour wasn't just a musical victory, it was a logistical marvel. And that 727 was the silent command hub, the gap between towns where the spectacle was peeled away and the human endured. Ultimately, what the aircraft exposes isn't regarding wealth or mysteries, it's regarding endurance. Every choice, which plane to rent, who could enter, how it was arranged, was taken to defend Michael's most valuable asset, peace. That's why, when the hatch finally swung wide after all that time, the most surprising thing within was normalcy. A few lost papers, a set of headphones, the soft ghost of footsteps in a corridor that once bore one of the most known persons on Earth from one shouting mob to the next. Because occasionally, the best tale a spot can narrate is the truth that nobody anticipated. So, what are your thoughts? Was the absence of glitz a shock, or precisely what you pictured Michael Jackson's life in the clouds to be? Let us know in the comments.